connection. Good evening, everybody. There's quite a number of people in the Google Meet already. And tonight is simply Q&A. Any type of question that you would have for me that I have not answered somehow during the week, or anything that is going on in my life that's I think is significant enough for me to share with you. That's what I got going on. I did want to check, see whether I had any comments. Let me leave that over here. Oops. Let me. Where is my. There. No, not what I was looking for. I think I have too many windows open. Let me close that. Try it again. There. And then try to. There we go. Just trying to make sure that when I was going into the second browsing window, that I wouldn't be broadcasting my second browsing window into YouTube or anywhere else. Speaking of YouTube, come into my studio and then share that screen. I had a dream this morning. In the dream, I was in a bunker, and there was a lot of people in this bunker, and there was two settings, two areas of the bunker. There was the of course the outer door where every person was coming in. Then there was the inner set of doors where people were being asked questions, led to Christ, being prayed over to receive the gift of speaking in tongues. And in that particular section of the bunker, there was some food and some water. In the event that people would come in, realize this is not where they wanted to be, we could at least send them on their way with some food and some water. And an individual came in, and he was always kind of like this. In the dream, kind of had a hood, and you couldn't see the eyes all that well. Had the hood like this, and you had to get up close to the person to see where his eyes were, but for the most part, he had a hood like this, and he walked around like this. And he came through the outer door of the bunker, and the very first thing that he wanted to do was to ask where all the food was. And we said, well, first we have to vet you. First, we have to verify that you're here for the purposes that the bunker is serving. If you're not here for the purposes of what the bunker and what the people here are serving, then we're not going to let you in. And he did not appreciate that, but he went along with it. I'm just checking to see if I have any comments that I missed. And I apologize, Ms. Ash, the first 20 minutes of this one last Friday, I forgot sound. I'm so sorry. But I got all of that. And this individual, I don't know. This individual has been subscribed to me for 2 years. The only thing they can do is complain. So I don't keep notifications on for those who just want to complain and just want to have their say in the matter. I simply don't respond. She taught me. She's currently napping, but she taught me. You just don't respond. So, I'm sorry, did I have somebody? Oh, rejoining, got it. My ears are super sharp. Okay, so I don't have anything there. I'll just do a new tab. Actually, I wanted to show you what it is that I was doing over on Patreon. For those not familiar with my Patreon, Patreon is where I go to put most of my notes or most of my projects. I recently re-uploaded the Upload One of Many. Now, instead of it being me doing a bunch of teachings in between the sessions, it's just straight through 1 through 5. So if you are keen on picking that up, it is in the, you can get access to this for as little as $3. That's USD. $3 per month gets you access to this little series. Once I get the whole series uploaded, then it will be a $10 for the first module of 40 days, and then when it gets to the second module, the price will bump up to 20 because there'll be more content, and then once I get the third, it'll bump up to 30 once I get the third module. But I have been doing a bunch of work behind the scenes, taking each of the sections. I'll just give you a little preview what this looks like. Oh, to be innocent. In fact, I am asking to mute that. So I figured out a way to take the individual sections, break it down, put it into readable font, and then additionally, it's not putting too much text on a page. So as you go through, you have the option of listening and speaking alongside, or you have the option of keeping it muted and reading the prayers. Now, in the process of going through days 1 through 5, you will cover 25 topics. And with the topics being, let's see if I have it on hand. The topics are pretty intense, to say the least. You actually go to the place where I got it originally. Oh, builders. Come on. For those who have read or are familiar with the Ministry of God's Foundation Builders, also known as Jackie and oh shoot, I forget what his name is, but Jackie Hanselman. She put together a book called Silencing the Accuser, also in Spanish. It's $15. It's a very, very dry read. She writes very much like a like a textbook or a user manual, But I came here I clicked on the list of the generational iniquities. And when it comes to all these crimes, now, all of these happened within the time of the Bible, between the cover of Genesis to the cover of Revelation. All of these crimes happened in the Bible. All of these have a stain in our lives. So unless there is a place where you have found a prayer to ask for a decree of divorce from all of these stains, they sit for no expiration of time in the bloodline. And so I first discovered this particular book in, I want to say, the summer of 2016, which is coming up on 9 years ago. And the reason that I came in contact with it is because my mom got it, and she saw this list of sin. She's like, is this author serious? Is she seriously trying to tell me that all of these things are in my bloodline, in your bloodline? I said, well, let me read the book. Let me find out. And I found out, yeah, all of these things, murder by instruments of torture such as hanging, disembowelment, use of the axe, the knife, the sword, the spear, the arrow, the rifle, the gun, and then abortion, kidnapping, ambush of the innocent. All of those things are in our bloodline. Now, you could have been following me on the Patreon collection of project. You may have found me while I was going through this particular project. If you set this to oldest to newest, you may have come in, you may have discovered there's a whole lot of prayers here. Now, in this particular project, I took on 17 or 18 topics a day. I surely was zealous about it. I surely thought I was going to be able to go through and get all of it. But going through topics such as this in as strenuous a level as I took. Oops, I just realized I don't have captions on. There tends to be this place where one of two things happens. And by the way, this has happened for me 3 out of 3 years that I've done this. I will set a particular high expectation of how much I'm pretty sure I can get done, and I don't finish, or I don't follow through on the whole thing all the way through. Because either I get such a collection of people who all want to have an understanding as to why certain things are happening in their life, or the gravity and the weight of what it is that I'm discussing hits me so hard that I feel how much the action was hurting the heart of Abba, and I weep. So it's one of those two things. Back to my story at the bunker. I was watching this fellow with a hood, Yes, would you like to join? He had this hood up, and it was very difficult to see. You know, you had to get up close to him to find his eyes. But for the most part, he was walking through the bunker like this, and he would definitely contribute. He would definitely help out. But for the most part, he'd just be walking like this. He wasn't. He'd pretty well stay out of the way, except for one particular time of day. Whenever it was time for the food to be given out, he was there at the front of the line making sure that he could look into the kitchen area where the food was being prepared to see whether or not there was any more food than what was being served to all those in the bunker. And his continual, and I had this dream. It felt like I was watching a movie. It did not feel as if I were dreaming. Literally felt as if I were watching some type of movie, some type of film, or some type of documentary. That's what it felt like. And so this gentleman was always trying to see how much food was available. In the course of always looking to see, we were always telling him, listen, information that you're asking about, you're not high enough on the food chain. You're colloquial, interesting slip and Freudian slip. You're not high enough on the importance of people to know how much food we have or how fast the food is being given out. Well, it was like I was watching this documentary, and I saw that time had passed. So this gentleman was now there for going on 3 years, and he was still asking the same things. And finally, because he had proven himself in every other area of the bunker, they gave him a role in leadership, and that's what he was waiting on. As soon as he got a place in leadership, he began to go into the granary area and the pantry area, and he began to see that we actually had lots and lots of food. So he talked to a couple people that he made friends with, and he told them, we're going to have a coup. We're going to overthrow the current established leadership so that everybody in the whole place, instead of just getting a little packet of cereal with a little packet of dry milk that you have to go over and get some water and stir it to become milk and put it on your cereal, each person is going to get a box of cereal. Because we have so much, everybody can have a box of cereal. And so when it came time for him to do the passing out of food, he made sure that he gave each of the leaders the night before something in their food so that they would sleep. So it was just him doing the food. And so when he was giving out the food, instead of people just getting a little packet of food, they were getting an entire box of food. And they're like, well, okay, you're giving us this box, but are you also going to give us the same amount, the equivalent amount of milk? He says, no, that's something you have to figure out by yourself. Well, this caused quite the hubbub. So one person went running to the leaders to tell them, hey, pound on the wall. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, you gotta come. This new guy's doing something weird. And so the leaders came rushing in, and by the time they came down to the eating area, everybody had their box of food. Like great big box of food. And the leaders didn't want to go taking the food away because that's essentially one cereal box can feed 6 people instead of one box per person. And so they were trying to figure out how to tell the people they had to give up the box when all of a sudden into the middle of the room comes Jesus. Everybody dropped on their knees instantly, except for the new guy and his 4 or 5 friends who were holding all the food. Jesus looked around and says, I'm here to take you up to the banquet where you don't have to ration out any type of food. You don't have to worry about how much food you have to share all over the place. I'm here to take you home. And he turns to those 4 or 5 with a bunch of food. He said, I'm also taking you to heaven. But you're not coming to heaven for the food. You're coming to be judged. Now, at that point, I woke up because I knew what the dream meant. I'm a little curious. What do y'all think the dream meant? And I will easily accept that my answer could be incorrect. But it was pretty intense. But what do y'all think? I don't bite that hard. Oh, that's wild. That's wild, Lola. No takers? That's interesting. You usually have some takers. Ashley says, the ones who are being judged love life more than Jesus. Could be. Could be that. Anybody else got something? I keep looking. Send me the same question to the live stream. So, I believed that the people who went to get judged knew how to fake it. They knew so much about what it means to speak in tongues. They knew so much about what it meant to be a good Christian. They knew so much about what it meant to be convincing. But they had no relationship with Jesus Christ. And because they did not have any relationship with Jesus Christ, he could look right at them and see. They were much more interested in what was going on the earth than they were with having a relationship with him. Now, and can anybody tell me why is it important to have a relationship with Jesus Christ? No wrong answers here.
Because without him we are doomed.
That's one way to see it. Anybody else? Scrolling in my posts on Patreon because I know I made some very, very interesting ones and I wanted to revisit them. Tell says, because we were created through him and he died that we can be reconciled back to God. Strange but true, Tell. Jesus did not Jesus did not die on the cross to save people. And I have to grab it in the lovely King James to show you what it is that I mean. See if it pulls it here. That's not catching it. I'll get it in New King James. Excuse me. From Luke chapter 19. Then Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now, behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. And he sought to see who Jesus was, but he could not because of the crowd, for he was of short stature. I believe in some circles we'd call that fun size. So he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must stay at your house. So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. But when they saw it, they all complained, saying, he has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Now, little thing about this, I'm actually going to change my lights here because it's getting a bit bright to my eyes. If I can find dang switch. There it is. There we go. He has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Now, it says, please go back up here. He was a chief tax collector, but they said he has gone. I'm going to make this just a tad bit longer. He has gone to be with a guest. He has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. Can anyone tell me, have you ever heard of this? Have you ever studied out why the people call a tax collector a sinner? We think. Why would the people call tax collectors sinners. There is a very specific reason, by the way. There is a actual reason. It's because the tax collectors were employed by the Romans. And the Romans needed to have upkeep for the roads, needed to have upkeep for the various governors' houses. They needed to have some way to pay all the ones who served in their companies. And so, in order to receive payment to the governor and all the ways to keep the economy going, they needed to tax the people. And it was said in the days of Jesus that you couldn't be a tax collector and a Jew. You couldn't be of the house of Israel and also serve the house of Rome. And so it was a saying in the time of Jesus that if you were a tax collector, you were worse. You were the worst sinner of all type, because you couldn't accurately say you were a Jew because you're taking people's money, and you couldn't accurately say that you're a Roman citizen because you're also a Jew. So you were actively being a practicing hypocrite to you're a practicing hypocrite to the Romans, because you're not fully Roman to collect the taxes, and you're not fully Jew to serve the Romans. You were a double hypocrite on purpose, because that's how you made your living. So when Jesus says in Matthew chapter 18 that the way you treat, the way that you confront someone who's done something evil, first you go by yourself. You go to the individual and you let them know, hey, this is something that you've done. It goes against the word of God. And, you try to bring them back. If you're able to bring them back, you've gained a brother. If you cannot, with just by yourself, you get 2 or 3 others and you go to the individual, you try to convey to them, persuade them that they need to change their ways. If you're still not able to, at that point, you take that person in front of the church that they say they're a part of, and you confront the person in front of the entire church. This is the words of Jesus, Matthew chapter 18, I'll show you. He says, if this one does not change, if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. If he refuses even to hear the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. Let him be to you someone who has never received Christ and a double hypocrite. So it was a phrase of the time that Jesus was on the earth, that if you were a tax collector, you couldn't be fully Roman and you couldn't be fully Jew. You are a double hypocrite. So then back to Luke 19. He's a chief tax collector and very rich. And the people determined that Jesus has gone to be a guest with a man who is a sinner. It's not that they were horrifically abusing Zacchaeus. It was that Zacchaeus, taking on the role of being a tax collector, had taken on this idea that he is a double hypocrite. And yet Jesus wanted to spend time with Zacchaeus. All right. Then Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything from anyone by false accusation, I restore fourfold." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house because he is also a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has to seek and to save that." A person is not a that. A nation is not a that. Jesus came to seek and save that which was lost, and people are not that. Part of it is given right here. Salvation means being completely delivered from all molestation of evil. But even that, even the word of salvation is not what Jesus came to save. He came to restore to the people authority. Jesus, as the Son of Man, has come to seek and save dominion, which was lost. Once dominion is restored to the earth, people will not be able to be tricked by the devil any longer. And they will see with obvious, that's a no-brainer why I would serve Jesus. So when Jesus came to die, it was not to save us. It was to restore dominion. When dominion is restored, guess what? We finally have some say over what the devil is doing to us. All right? So, there is that one. To tell Mr. Montel from London, I said, if you would join us in the meeting, then we'd have 3 from London and you 3 would outrank us. Okay. There was something else I was going to show you. Oh, So this was the passage of Luke 19, verse 10. If you switch the digits and go to Luke 10, verse 19. Luke 10, after these things, what's these things? Let's go to chapter 9 to find out what these things are. Oop. Ah. Now it happened as they journeyed on the road that someone said to him, Lord, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, three Londoners in the same place. I am so, wow. I used to have a very good friend in London. And so whenever I see someone from London, I just go back to those amazing conversations. But this particular thing, I guess the whole allure brought Mr. Tell in. Lord, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. How cryptic, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cryptic do you think Jesus was being right here? Give me a number in the chat. How cryptic do you think he was being? Ten. Mr. Tell is being a brown noser. 10 of 10. Mr. Jesus here, Mr. Rabbi, was quoting something, but it's not given right here. Like, you know how a lot of Bibles will have a little number or little letter next to the word to let you know this actually is related to another passage in the Bible. It's related to Isaiah chapter 9. Let me pull it up on this one so I don't lose the passage. Government of the promised son. Nevertheless, the gloom will not be upon her who is distressed, as when at first he lightly esteemed the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, afterward more heavily oppressed her by the sea beyond the Jordan in Galilee, the Gentiles, the people who walked in darkness. I'm sure you've heard this many a time around Christmas. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, upon them a light has shined. You have multiplied the nation and increased its joy. They rejoice before you according to the joy of harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you have broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every warrior's sandal from noisy battle and garments rolled in blood will be used for burning and fuel of fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Why does he not have anywhere to lay his head when he is prophesied to have a government on his shoulders? For those not too keen on Bible prophecy or on Bible teaching, y'all can hang back. For those who have a little bit of more of this under their belt, you are free to speak up. Because I know this is a little deeper than the average. Why does Jesus say, I don't have any place to lay my head, when he is promised a government? Give me a question mark in the chat if you do not know what I'm talking about. Actually says he governs the body of Christ. How? She must be at work to not be able to. Monta has a bunch of question marks. A third passage. Through the Holy Ghost. What does the Holy Ghost do? Actually, it's the same passage. Just a little further up. Oop. 9, not 10. All right, that's not going to do it. Excuse me. I'm going to switch this into the amplified. Back down. Gonna do a lot of scrolling here. Put this in amplified as well. incorrect one? I did. Let's see. Now, when Jesus went to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" Notice he didn't call himself the Son of God, Son of Man. So, and they answered, some say John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others Jeremiah, or just one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed, the Son of the living God." Then Jesus answered him, "Blessed, happy, spiritually secure, favored by God are you, Simon, son of Jonah, because flesh and blood, mortal man, did not reveal these to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, or death, will not overpower it by preventing the resurrection of the Christ." That's lovely, pretty language. I'll show you something here. To my absolute favorite method of teaching, it's the Blue Letter Bible. (16:18). I say also unto you that you are Peter, upon this rock I will build my ecclesia. All right, keep that in mind. Luke 9. Scrolling for a ways. Jesus said to him, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has not where to lay his head." If the government of Jesus is to be on the shoulders of Jesus, what is that government? You catch this one thing. If you're a person that likes to really explore the words, go up to words, find out what words mean, etc. If you really like to do that, this one thing is going to set the whole Bible on fire. If Jesus is going to govern the body, and the body is governed by Holy Ghost, how does he rule? Wouldn't it be crazy if he ruled through us? Wouldn't it be just mind-blowing If the way in which he had an ecclesia is to have an authority through us, wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that just be phenomenal? So what actually is it? If he is prophesied in Isaiah 9, that the government shall be upon his shoulder, his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. If that is what his name is, do our lives reflect that he is our counselor, our mighty God, our everlasting Father, our Prince of Peace? Do our lives reflect that he holds all of those titles in our heart? Because if he does, then we are sitting on his shoulders. And he has somewhere to lay his head. But if those titles are not something that we can hold on to, then his head is not resting on us. The question is not so much Mr. Tell says, Christ our cornerstone. Definitely cornerstone. But in the area of rule, in the area of ecclesia, let me show you this. This is where when I saw this, it pretty well broke my brain. Open image, new tab. Leave that there. The ecclesia of ancient Athens is particularly well known. It was the popular assembly open to all male citizens as soon as they qualified for citizenship. In 594 BC, Solon allowed all Athenian citizens to participate regardless of class. The assembly was responsible for declaring war, military strategy, and electing the strategoi, and other officials. It was responsible for nominating and electing magistrates, thus indirectly electing the members of the Areopagus. It had the final say on legislation and the right to call magistrate to account after their year of office. A typical meeting of the assembly probably contained around 6,000 people out of a total citizen population of 30 to 60,000. It would have been difficult, however, for non-wealthy people outside the urban center of Athens to attend until reimbursement for attendance were introduced in the 390s. It originally met once every month, but later met 3 or 4 times per month. The agenda for the ecclesia was established by whoever that was. The popular councilor votes were taken by a show of hands, counting of stones, and voting using broken pottery. So, how many of you can say that you are seeing who your town will go to war with? How many can say that you are responsible for military strategy? How many are responsible for electing certain officials? How many have the final say on the legislation? How many have the right to call magistrates to account? How many of you have that as your day to day activity? Because if you don't, you're not in God's assembly. You're not in his ecclesia. His head is not resting on you. If you are not telling the angels who to go after, if you are not supporting and praying for the local pastor or local preacher to where you are attending, if you are not having a say as to what goes on in your church or local body of worship, if you are not having some type of impact onto how your church or body of worship has their services, or if you're not holding them accountable to what's going on, you're not contributing. I'm reminded of a thing that I put together, which stated that the easiest way for you to know that you had an impact on, that God had an impact on what you were doing on a day-to-day life was based on how much time you spent in prayer. If you were to say, let me take this to a calculator. There are 24 hours in a day. Times 7. 168 hours in a week. Now, if in that span of time you are going to a worship service, and the worship service or the place you go to church is once a week, and you are going once a week, you take the 168 take the 3 divided by 168, and this number, 0.17, or rounded up, you have about 2% authority in the kingdom of God if you go once a week. If you're spending 3 hours out of a week from Sunday midnight until Saturday midnight. Less than 2%, just a little over 2% authority if you have spent 3 hours in 1 week. Now the 168 oh, hi Lola. If we take the 168, not what I meant to do, and multiply that times 365, that's 61,320. Out of that, we are going 3 hours, and most weeks have. Well, if we do a 52 times 3, 156. So take that up, put it somewhere. Oh, not there. Here. All right, 156. So clear this out. I think it's 198, but I'm not pretty sure. 168, 24 times 7, 168. If we take, that's 168 times 52. Oh, come on. 168 times 52. 8,736. That's how many hours in a year. And the total number of hours, if you go for 3 hours to church every year, that's 156, 56 by, oops, did that wrong. No, that's right. 8,736, again, comes out to 0.0178. Again, a little over 2% authority, which means that the devil has 98% authority to say and do whatever he wants by the numbers alone. Now, let's say that you spend approximately an hour every day besides the 3 that you go to church. So now that's 18 plus 3 is 21. Times 52. Oops. 1,092. 1,092 in a year. Okay? So we take the 8,736 divided by 1,072. Oh my goodness. I did that slightly incorrect. Do that again. 1072. Now we're coming in at 12%. Just from doing 1 hour of Bible study and prayer. Instead of 2%, now you're at 12%. Now you're a threat to the devil. And so he will do whatever he can to make sure you do not read your Bible every day. Let's say that instead of the 1 hour, you actually find a way. This is something I do, by the way, where for 3 hours out of the day, every day, you pray. So that automatically is 21. 3 times 7, 21? Yes. But God does something different with that. You begin to pray for 3 hours. He doesn't look at it as 3 hours. He looks at it as 24 hours. So if we take that, I'm writing off to the side. If we are actually praying for 3 hours a day, but God counts it as 3 days, 72 times 52. Three, 744 divided by 8736. Now you got 42%, 43%. Now you're a major pain in the side of the enemy because you got almost half. Now you understand why I'm really very interested in teaching people how to lay their life down for not just themselves, but their families. Because God showed me something, and you can take it to the Bible, you can take it to heaven, you can take it to the bank, wherever you want to do it, that every time you go and you're laying your life down, and you go for yourself, you're praying for those 3 hours, you're praying for yourself on those 172 topics, and you go 3 hours a day and you just go through the topics over and over and over, you're standing at about 42% authority. But then you go back to the 5th generation, and for each generation you get another hour. So now instead of God accounting to you 3 days, He's accounting to you 5 days on top of the week that you're already doing. So it's effectively your day, or your week has 12 days. God accomplishes in you what would take most people 12 days. He accomplishes that in you in 1 week. You go back 20 generations and you are doing these prayers because you know that it gives Jesus, you're giving the glory of God a place to land. Each one of those generations, He gives you a day. So now, instead of your your week having 20 days, you have 27 days in a week. God begins to move things so incredibly fast and so incredibly deep that instead of your life sitting at 7 days in a week, He begins to bring so much level of revelation, so much level of understanding, so much level of the devil doesn't want to touch you because you're too dang hot. He don't want to touch you because you're too dang hot. You are too difficult to handle. And so because of that, He don't touch you. He goes after other people, but he don't touch you. Because each time he gets anywhere close to you, he loses 20 days of progress. This is something that God showed me now. Is it in the Bible? No. Can you find it in the Bible? No. But it's a principle of God. Consider this. Jesus, and then in the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed for 3 hours. And then he went essentially he went through a 36-hour trial of not being able to sleep. And then he gets put up on the cross. He lasts about 6 hours. And then he is in the tomb for 3 days. If praying for 1 hour, God says, I'll give you an extra day of grace, extra day of mercy. Okay, so praying 3 hours is I'll give you 3 days of mercy and grace. If we could see it active in the life of Jesus, could it not also be active in your life? That's why I get so excited when people from all over the world come in and they see what it means to actually agree to every accusation. And when they do it, all of a sudden, things begin to... First, the devil starts to hit back because you're stomping on his territory. That's what he can see. But you keep going. Your physical territory that God gives you grows a lot. And then the spiritual territory grows a lot. And then the geographical of all the places that God has for you to go, it grows. I'll give you an example. Because this is physically happening right now. My wife worked for about 10 years, 12 years, some of that, as a in-home health, in-home aid for the elderly. And she did it because it was paying good, but she didn't like it. And as a result, she would go all these various places and she would have a level of misery for being in these places. And I would tell her, this is where it seems like you're gifted. I don't understand why you don't want to. And so we would have arguments back and forth. Eventually, I was able to come to that place where I was contributing to the job and to the house, and I enjoyed it because I was able to speak like this, except I had a headset. I was getting paid to talk, kind of like now. But my wife was able to not work those long hours, and she still was not satisfied. Well, she continued to pray and pray and pray. Back then, she was praying something between 2 to 3 hours a day. And right now, she's praying anywhere between 5 to 7 hours every day. I thought you did. All right.
It's exaggeration.
3 to 4? 2 to 3?
I didn't even pray today. I'm having a hard time praying. Right now, when I was doing the classes, much more, but that's really, I'm just feeling. So I'm pretty good shape.
Okay.
I'm pretty good.
So when you were doing the fast, 3 to 4,
I wouldn't exaggerate. I feel like, I don't feel like, I know that you exaggerate on the hours, so please don't say I'm 5 to 7 hours, even more.
okay. So when she's in the fast, I would notice she would pray a lot. And then one morning I had a dream because she is a delivery driver for food. I saw that as she was driving on the streets would turn a mix between gold and red. And the more she drove these streets, sections of the city appeared to be on fire. And I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. And I took that dream to God. I said, what the world is this? And he said, every place your foot shall tread, I will give it to you. So my wife went from working all these different locations, a couple nights a week or whatever, or a couple days a week, and it was frustrating because it wasn't what God had called her to. Or it was what he had called her, and she just didn't appreciate it. But now she delivers food, and she loves it. And guess what? I took this dream to God. I said, what's going on? He says, the dust. You got to look at the dust. It says in the Bible that when Jesus sent out the 70, he said, if the town receives you, give them a blessing. If the town does not receive you, shake the dust off your feet, because the dust will give a testimony of how you were treated. Okay? So, my wife is a certain level delivery driver. And according to the company, she's one of the top drivers. As she drives, as she goes all over the city, she's claiming territory. Great big swaths of territory. And God tells me, as she goes through all these different locations, all of the roads and all of the paths and all of the footpaths, all of the houses, etc., the surface is declaring the glory of God. And praise. Here's what we do not understand about God and his design. In his design, the dust has a voice, and it gives testimony about how you have lived your life. So if you have walked alongside the road any given amount of time and you've been praising God, you've been praying or any such thing, the dust you've walked on gives a testimony to Jesus in real time. And here's another thing that we do not understand about God, and I really hope that you get this, because it may very well change the way in which you do prayers. When God said, let there be light, and there was light, light exploded out of the mouth of God, traveling at 98,000 1,000 miles per second. Not quite sure how fast that is in kilometers, but at a phenomenal rate of speed, to the point that scientists have measured that every year light travels 3.18 light year. That's how far light travels in 1 year. And it has never stopped. The light of God has never stopped expanding. So, as you walk somewhere and you are praying, that dust begins to speak about the words you have said to God, and it never, ever stops speaking. So when you are finding when it seems to you like you are praying all by yourself, go take a walk. All that dust that you walk on, it's going to agree with you. Now you might stop praying at some point, but it never does. It never stops agreeing with you. That's just wild for me. All right. Stopped on that one for a little while. Any questions? Mr. Tell, I have never heard you in my life. Yet. Is your last name actually World? And now I wait for the eventual message in the chat. Checking something.
It's talking against me every time I pray. No one.
It's like, where's that voice coming from? And then it was my own voice. It's always interesting to me what the Google Meet picks up in the what my wife is saying in the background and me. I don't see any new questions. Well, if y'all ain't got anything to say, checking live stream. Oh, I know. In the live stream. If I don't have very many questions, then I will close up the live stream. And y'all who are sitting in the Google meeting will be able to get a glimpse of Mr. Ova Turnbow. Beat me to it. I was literally typing L. I'm about to close up shop on the live stream, and then you appear. And it's not going. Oh, sorry, not. It's not. It's not Otha. It's the breaking free from ungodly judgments. This particular information, if you would like to come in and listen in, it is not information that you can find on YouTube. It is from another YouTube channel. I have used their material before, but I've never put it out there as a rebroadcast. I'm not about to. So those in the live stream, I'm giving you about 3 minutes to come on in. Meanwhile, I will get the material ready. Any questions from the Google Meet gallery? Comments? Questions? Emotional outbursts? All right, got that ready. Oh, coming on Sunday, for those who are part of the Telegram channel, Telegram group, coming on Sunday is a part 2 of an interview that I did with a Chrissy Cole. Once I do part 2 of the interview is when I will release in public the full interview. The uniqueness of this particular young woman is that she spent some time as a lesbian, believing that she could find the good things of the world by being bisexual. And in a way that can only be of God, she had a dream that she was in hell. And that she dreamed that she was in that location not because of something somebody else had done, but because of who she had rejected. She found out a little bit later that her grandmother had been praying for her, and that her grandmother had actually prayed, "Father, give my granddaughter a revelation of what happens if she dies and she doesn't know you." Now, the story gets even more amazing because we did that broadcast on. We did that interview. I say we, I mean Annette and I. We did that first initial recording on the 10th of August. I'm sorry, not 10th of August. Yeah, 10th of August. And asked her, "Are you going to be ready for next on the 17th?" She's like, "Oh, I'm getting certain surgeries done. Can we reconvene on the 31st? And so recently I reached out to her, asked if she's ready for the 31st. She says yes. And then I had the idea, what if I was to get more people than just myself and Annette, So I asked Miss Chrissy, would you be interested in a bit of a roundtable where more people can ask you questions? She says, absolutely. So I'm telling YouTube about it because you're going to see the results of the interview, but the interview is not going to be on YouTube. So if you want to have some type of input on questions you want to leave for Miss Chrissy, to give you a perspective of who she is, let me grab the not that. This is her Instagram. The link there does not work, but she is very, very outspoken. I like this one right here. I believe in God not because my parents told me to, not because my church told me to, but because I've experienced His presence and workings in my life and how awesome He is. That from 4 years ago. And she said that still is her what she says about life. So Instagram.com/Chrissy Cole Live. Now, I'm not 100% sure where she's live at the moment, but by far, no, that is not the one who did the recanting. You may be thinking of. Let me see if. Are you thinking about? Oh shoot! I had her in my head. Subscribe to her too. Let's see if I can find her in my subscriptions. Subscriptions. Give me my list. It's a very, very catchy name too.
Hey, Norm.
Yes.
She has one video on YouTube.
Oh,
So I subscribed to Chrissy Cole Live at Chrissy Cole Live with 2 E's.
gotcha.
She has 13 subscribers. But then she's with Project Church Sacramento 9 years ago. 6 years ago. I don't know if that's the same girl though. Now that I'm looking.
And let's see.
I have so many subscriptions. I'm trying to find the specific one that I'm referring to. I know the face, but actually remembering the name. All right, so it's not that particular profile. All right, so I don't see too much of a. Oh, well, thank you, Miss L. Much appreciated. I'll find it. It's very, very specific too. Goodness, I thought I had it just ready on hand. It's a singular name too, so why I'm not remembering it. I think it starts with a letter P. Didn't realize I had this many subscriptions on. Huh. I'll get back to you on that one. I think I also mentioned it in my book, trilogy book, that is. Ooh. Documents here and here. Paviel is who I was thinking about. I knew it was a P. I could not remember the name. But the specific person who announced all of the sororities is Paviel. I can see the similarity, but that's the one you were asking me about, Lola. All right, I have got everything squared away as far as getting the video. Everybody on YouTube, I thank you for stopping by. We'll do it again on Monday. God hasn't quite given me the power punch message, but you'll see the thumbnail once it shows up. So, thank you for stopping by. We'll do it again